Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hybrid Cloud Native Challenges webinar. This is the first session in our webinar series, How to Fast Track Multi-Cluster Kubernetes Deployments in Hybrid Cloud Environments. All lines will be muted throughout the session, but please use the Q&A button to ask questions at any time. We will be answering your questions throughout the event. To turn on English subtitles, please use the closed captioning button at the bottom of your screen. And a quick note, this session is being recorded and will be available for you to watch again following the event. Please welcome our speakers for today. Marc Staimer, President of Dragon Slayer Consulting, and Robert Shimp, Oracle SVP of Infrastructure, Software, and Product Strategy. Robert, over to you.
Thank you, and welcome everyone to our seminar today. I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us. And Mark, why don't we just jump right into this? Thank you to you too for being here. I know that you talk to customers all the time, and you must have heard a lot from them about the problems that they are seeing with their existing monolithic or legacy apps that they use today. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you're hearing?
Sure, Bob, and to be quite frank, there are quite a few of them. One of the things that legacy apps have significant problems with is inelastic hardware infrastructure. And when I talk about that, that means it's inelastic from provisioning, inelastic for scaling, it's disruptive. Models that mandate payment for resources regardless of what's used. And along those lines, they have to pay up front for resources that they're not using now and may never use. So the risk is put all on the customer instead of on the vendor. So from the customer point of view, this is an inflexible architecture, and they prefer something that's a little bit more flexible and on demand. Not to mention that it's got very high cost. It's not portable. What they're doing is, think of it from this perspective. They're either developing on bare metal or they're developing on virtual machines. Now, in bare metal, if they want to move that to a cloud, they're going to have a significant issue of tweaking that application in the cloud because it's not the same environment. If it's on a virtual machine, it may or may not be applicable to the cloud. For example, if you're running with AWS and you're using Outposts on-premise, that's not the same environment as an AWS data center. Therefore, you're going to have to modify your application between those two states. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of effort, and more importantly, it's a lot of time, and time is precious.
Okay, great. So obviously with all these problems, customers are looking to the cloud and cloud native technologies to address a lot of that. And so what exactly is cloud native and why are people moving to it?
Well, cloud native is the process of designing, constructing, operating, and managing applications and workloads built in a cloud that leverages the cloud computing model and its technologies. It's designed to take advantage of containers and microservices, service meshes, virtual hardware, as well as software infrastructure and declarative APIs. Now, hybrid cloud native is an extension of cloud native, and that enables those cloud native applications and workloads to be easily portable. So you can move it from on-premises to the cloud, from the cloud to on-premises, between clouds, between on-premises, without having to modify the application, which severely slows down portability if you have to modify it. So it makes things much easier overall.
Okay, well, obviously when you have this kind of sea change in infrastructure or technologies, there are going to be a lot of problems trying to implement that. And I would think that hybrid cloud just adds another dimension to the challenge. So can you talk a little bit about what some of those things are that people face when they're trying to build these types of solutions?
Sure. There's a large number of obstacles facing IT organizations when they're trying to make the move to cloud native and hybrid cloud native applications. And one of the most challenging is the glut of complicated tools that are exceedingly difficult to integrate. I mean, there's a lot of them, hundreds to thousands of them. And every one of these has its own interface, its own learning curve. And we're talking a significant amount of time again. And as I keep saying, time is the most precious resource because you can't rewind it. And so there's a lot of inertia inside organizations as well about the way they were doing things versus the way they need to do things, which adds to that learning curve because it's difficult to overcome the inertia of what you know well. From a DevOps and a DevSecOps perspective, I've been doing it this way and now I got to do it that way. I don't know if I want to do that. And so when you look at these massive amounts of tools that you have to use in many cases, some of them are proprietary, some of them are open source, many of them don't work well together. It's a complicated landscape. So there's a lot of complexity, often a lot of lock-ins, and getting support for all that environment tends to be difficult.
Yeah.
So Bob, let me ask you some questions based on what you just asked me. All right. So based on what we just talked about, how does Oracle address this?
Okay. Well, we have a vision with very specific design points that we're trying to achieve around cloud native solution stack. First of all, we have always focused on providing high quality of service, performance, reliability, security that customers have come to expect from an Oracle solution. And that continues, of course, today as we move into cloud computing. The second thing is that we focus really on the enterprise class customer with all that means in the way of providing not only the technology solution, but the business solution around that. And as you mentioned, there's a lot of complexity, there's lock-in, there's maintenance and support issues. So we want to address all of those things with things like an open source software stack, 100% open source stack, and then deliver that wherever customers want to run it, whether it's in an Oracle cloud, a third-party cloud, on-premise, or a combination of all of the above. You should be able to take that solution stack and go where and when you want, and do it in a way that makes it easy to install, easy to consume or use and maintain over the life cycle and so on. So simplicity is a really key part of the whole, maintenance and support issue that we need to address.
All right, Bob. So this sounds great, but how is this different from other solutions in the space? How is it different from other vendors?
Okay, well, there are a lot of points here. First of all, I would say that all the vendors claim to deliver a comprehensive solution with great quality of service and the ability to run anywhere and so on. And from my perspective, that's table stakes, but we need to do it better than the other guys. And I do think that we do all of that. We do provide a comprehensive solution. You can run it anywhere you want, and we're very focused on that quality of service that I was talking about earlier. But there are 3 or 4 things that go beyond that we're especially proud of. One is being more open. So we are 100% open source software. You can go to GitHub, you can download all the software, and a lot of our competitors make it notably difficult to get a hold of the source code. And we even offer things like for our Linux, all the patches and updates and so on. You can go get all that. You can freely run that anywhere you feel like, and you can do that with or without Oracle support. The second big differentiator is the simplicity factor, and by this I mean both the technology and how we do business. We try to make it very easy to install and maintain the stack, but we also try to have business terms and conditions that are very easy for our customers to understand and consume and so on, because I think in the industry up to this point, these stacks have been really complicated. They have a lot of component pieces, and it's kind of challenging to figure out, well, exactly how much of this am I using and how much am I going to need, or do I need all these parts and so on. We try to eliminate that by simplifying all the packaging and everything else for our customers. The third thing that I think really differentiates us is our award-winning, industry-leading support model. So we have an extensive support organization that provides 24/7 global support. It's very well known in the industry and highly regarded. And we deliver all of that for this cloud native stack. And then finally, especially for those customers that are Oracle customers, if you have a lot of, let's say, an Oracle estate in your IT department, we offer a better way to bring those existing workloads into a cloud native environment, whether you're going to run it in a cloud or hybrid or continue on-prem. You can bring that into the cloud native environment with a lot of tools and help from us that makes it easy to make that happen.
Bob, that sounds pretty good. One of the things I had a question for you on is I've noticed from reading about your product and your offerings that, like many Oracle products and services, you've added a significant automation to your Verrazano. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We find that one of the key components of simplicity is through automation, and that takes a lot of different forms. Of course, it's critical to analyze the entire life cycle of management, from installation all the way through to ultimately changing out the technologies. You need to be able to have automation throughout that, as well as automation for migration of existing applications you may have on-prem that you want to bring into this new cloud native environment, because that can often turn into a complex consulting gig if you don't have these kinds of tools. So we've worked really, really hard to think through the whole process, and we'll continue to refine that over time.
Yeah, it sounds pretty good. Again, and complexity always means more money. And consulting gigs typically mean more money. One other question for you on that. From what I've seen, your Linux is designed for enterprise level support, and of course, Verrazano as well. My understanding is that when you do this, the way you've designed your distribution is to be as minimally disruptive as possible or non-disruptive, such as with patching.
Sure.
Can you elaborate on that?
One of the things our customers have told us through the many years is that, hey, we run business critical or even mission critical infrastructure. They're in healthcare, financial services, on and on and on, where they cannot afford to have systems go offline, even for planned downtime, let alone unplanned downtime. So they need an infrastructure provider that is able to update, improve, upgrade the infrastructure behind the scenes without interruption. And a classic example of this is with our Oracle Linux operating system. We have a unique technology, our K-Splice technology, that enables us to do online patching of production systems without the end user even noticing that it's going on. So this is critical for all kinds of day-to-day updates that the customer may need to do, but it's especially valuable when you have a zero-day flaw that gets announced and you need to immediately patch what may be hundreds or thousands of systems in all kinds of different locations. We can do that online without skipping a heartbeat. And then that enables our customers to have that confidence that, okay, I can run the Oracle stack in my most critical operations and know that it'll just keep running.
That sounds really good. So let me just feed it back to you and summarize what you've been telling me. Is when it comes to hybrid cloud native and cloud native, Oracle is focused on delivering performance, simplicity, flexibility, reliability, availability, security, and maintainability and support at an enterprise level, but at open source cost. Would that be an effective summary?
Yeah, sure. It sounds like a lot, but we're happy to do it. Yeah.
Okay. So let's look at some questions that have been coming in and see how we can get through that. One of them is, how mature is this solution set?
Well, if you look at the core components, let's take Kubernetes or Istio or any of these other cloud native technologies, they're actually mature. In fact, that whole part of the industry is reaching a phase where these technologies have been widely deployed in production environments, and you know, they're very stable or becoming more and more stable all the time. So in that sense, our stack is quite mature. What's new is all of the integration and automation that help simplify the implementation and maintenance. And that is what we see as our value add and our ability to help our customers anticipate change and make sure that they can do all of this very smoothly. And that's kind of like why we are always you know, not necessarily the first to market. We are very focused on how we can deliver a better solution.
So another question that's come in is, how is Oracle able to provide support for so many open source tools?
Well, really, there's two parts to that. First of it is the scale of our business, and we have very large, huge development organizations and support organizations that are backing all of this technology. And that means that we can maintain expertise in all these different key technologies that need to be deployed as part of the solution. But another important part of this that differentiates us from most any other vendor is the focus on upfront on quality. So we're very focused on reducing that support burden on the back end by heavy testing of all the componentry. It's one thing to download a bunch of open source code. It's another thing to really test it against you know, actual customer workloads and really wring out all of the bugs. We're very focused, for example, on knowledge sharing around any bugs that we find and root cause analysis whenever we do hit a problem, so that we truly understand how to make the code better and better and better. So it's the combination of those two things, of having the scale and this intense focus on quality up front, that makes it easier to support our stack over the long term.
That's quite impressive, Bob. We have another question that's come in. It says, how does this solution differ from OpenShift or Tanzu?
Yeah, so these other solutions can be quite daunting. They're complicated. There's a lot of parts, a lot of option products and other things. We're very focused on simplicity, both in how customers interface with us or interact with us in business, and then technically reducing the time to implement and reducing the time to manage through automation and so on, so that our customers ultimately do not have the big consulting checks that they have to write to get things going. They understand better how much they're going to use and what they're going to use, and they can, in a consistent way, automate and maintain these systems over time. So just overall, we think that Oracle is simpler and easier.
Okay. And I think we have time for one more question. What are the shortcomings of your solution stack?
Well, obviously, as I mentioned earlier, we're not the first to market. If you want to be on the bleeding edge, well, you know, Oracle is much more focused on providing a very high quality solution. So we are, let me just say, sort of our cultural attitude is much more like Apple. We look at the market, we watch it, and we see where we can add value, and then we come out with the best possible product for our customers. So we have learned a lot by observing the evolution of cloud native applications and cloud native DevOps over the last few years. And now we're able to deliver a solution that we can stand with confidence behind in even the most critical infrastructure for our customers, and know that they will be able to have high quality service, good performance, good reliability, absolutely, with security, and that we can support them wherever they may be 24/7.
Okay.
Okay. So if that was the last question, maybe I should close with a couple of quick comments. First, we do have a monthly webinar series that we are rolling out, how to fast track multi-cluster Kubernetes deployments in hybrid cloud environments. And this session was the first webinar. There will be a second webinar next month in November 9th, called Avoiding Bad Technology Choices and Vendor Lock-in. That sounds like my worst nightmare. And so I think it's going to be pretty exciting to listen to. With that, thank you, Mark, for taking the time to talk to us a little bit about all of this stuff.
Thanks for having me.
Sure. And thanks to everyone for joining in today. So with that, I'll hand it off to our moderator.
Thank you for attending our webcast today, and thank you to Mark and Robert for their insightful discussion. As Robert mentioned, our next webinar in the series will be on November 9th. You can register for it or for the full webinar series by scanning the QR code or visiting oracle.com/openhybridcloudnative. And please stay connected and follow us on social media to get the latest information and to hear about other events for Oracle Linux and Verezano. Thank you and have a great day.